May 11, 1943. Alaska's westernmost island, towers 200 miles from the nearest American city. Temperature 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Visibility near zero due to dense fog. Here, on this forgotten chunk of volcanic rock in the Bering Sea, would unfold the only land battle of World War II fought on American soil. A battle almost no one knows about today. A battle that would last not 3 days, as the generals planned, but a grueling 19 days in Arctic hell. 15,000 American soldiers against 2,900 Japanese defenders. But the real enemy wouldn't be the opponent on the other side of the front line. It would be nature itself. Cold, fog, winds capable of knocking a man off his feet. By the battle's end, more Americans would be evacuated with frostbite than combat wounds. Nearly all Japanese would die. Only 28 would surrender. This is the story of the Battle of Attu, the story of a battle that America chose to forget. To understand this battle, we need to go back 1 year. In the summer of 1942, 6 months after Pearl Harbor, Japan occupied the islands of Attu and Kiska in the Aleutian chain. On June 7th, the Japanese 301st Infantry Battalion landed on Attu unopposed. The next day, they took Kiska. For the first time since the War of 1812, foreign troops stood on American soil. The shock to national prestige was enormous. But why did Japan want these bleak, fog-shrouded islands at the edge of the world? The strategy was simple and dangerous. The Aleutian Islands form a natural bridge between Asia and North America. Control of them meant control of the northern sea routes. They could become bases for bombing the U.S. West Coast, or a platform for invading Alaska. For America, it was a blow to prestige. For Japan, defense of the northern approaches to the empire. But recapturing the islands immediately was impossible. America was fighting on all fronts. Guadalcanal, North Africa, every ship was precious. Only after the victory at Midway in June 42, where Japan lost 4 carriers in 1 day, did the balance of power begin shifting. By May 1943, America was ready. It was time to take back its territory. American command faced a choice. 2 islands under Japanese occupation, Attu and Kiska. On Kiska, there were 5,400 Japanese soldiers, too strong a garrison. On Attu, intelligence estimated 500 to 1,600 defenders. The choice seemed obvious. Start with Attu. The operation received the code name Land Crab. Commander: Major General Albert E. Brown with the 7th Infantry Division, 11,000 soldiers fresh from training camp in sunny California. But intelligence was catastrophically wrong. On Attu, there weren't 1,500 Japanese, but nearly 3,000. Veterans who had spent 11 months turning the island into a fortress. They had dug fortifications deep into the frozen ground. They had acclimatized to the brutal conditions. They knew every rock, every valley. Worse, Americans had almost no winter gear. Military command kept the operation highly secret. Mass purchases of Arctic clothing could reveal the plans to the enemy. The soldiers of the 7th Division headed to fight in one of the coldest regions of the Pacific in standard uniforms. On Attu awaited Colonel Yasuyo Yamasaki, a professional military man with 20 years of experience. General DeWitt confidently promised, 3 days and the island is ours. General Brown warned, minimum 1 week due to terrain. History would show both were wrong. Before moving to the battle, we must understand the battlefield. Because Attu isn't just an island, it's a natural fortress. Imagine a chunk of volcanic rock, 35 by 15 miles, thrown into the Bering Sea, carved by mountains up to 3,000 feet high, with deep valleys between them, without a single tree, without a single road. The surface is a combination of nightmares. Sharp volcanic rocks shred boots after an hour of marching. Muskeg, water-saturated tundra that looks like solid ground, but turns into a swamp under a soldier's weight. Trucks get stuck after 5 yards. Everything, every ammunition box, every gun, every wounded man, must be carried by hand. Weather changes in minutes. Clear skies turn into a hurricane in 10 minutes. Williwaws. Local winds, sudden gusts up to 100 miles per hour. They rip down tents, knock men off their feet, hurl equipment into the ocean. Temperature rarely above 32 degrees. Constant fog, visibility drops to a few yards. Soldiers get lost 30 yards from their positions. Air support is impossible. Naval artillery fires blind. On tropical Pacific islands, heat, jungles, malaria, but equipment works, you see the enemy. Attu is an entirely different hell. The Japanese had spent 11 months here preparing. They knew where the fog was thickest, where the wind was strongest, where the Americans would get stuck. May 11th, 1943, 4 a.m. Task Force 51 approaches Attu, 34 ships including 3 battleships, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Idaho. The plan looks simple. Landing from 2 sides simultaneously, catch Japanese in pincer, 3 days to capture the island. But the island greets Americans with dense fog. Visibility drops to 100 yards. Landing craft circle blindly trying to find shore. Some land troops several miles from designated points. At 4:40 a.m., first scout groups hit the beach at Holt's Bay in the north. Almost no resistance, Colonel Yamasaki chose not to defend beaches. He positioned main forces on heights inland, turning every valley into a kill zone. In the south, at Massacre Bay, weather is even worse. General Brown forced to wait 12 hours until fog lifts slightly. Only at 4:40 p.m. does the 17th Infantry Regiment begin landing. They come ashore with almost no casualties. Japanese are absent. By nightfall, 15,000 Americans secured 2 beachheads. Casualties minimal, generals satisfied. But this is deceptive calm. Real battle will start tomorrow when troops move into mountains, into fog, where Japanese have been waiting 11 months. May 12th, Day 2. Americans begin moving inland and immediately understand that landing was the easy part. Southern Force tries to push through Massacre Valley toward Japanese base at Chichagof Harbor. On map, it's 3 miles as crow flies, but there's nothing straight here. Steep slopes, sharp volcanic rocks, and muskeg, water-saturated tundra that looks like solid ground, but gives way under weight of soldier with full gear. Japanese open fire from heights, invisible in fog. Americans shoot randomly, wasting ammunition on ghosts. Japanese snipers know every rock, every fold of terrain. They hit precisely when Americans couldn't even see where from. In north, 32nd Regiment tries to capture Jarman Pass. Only route through mountains. Japanese turned it into fortress of trenches and machine gun nests. Each assault attempt costs dozens of lives. Worst of all becomes cold. Temperature dropped to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and soldiers in standard uniforms. Mass frostbite begins. First dozens of cases, then hundreds. Fingers turn black, feet lose feeling. Medics can't handle the flow of frostbite victims. Artillery impossible to deliver, it's stuck in muskeg on coast. Each gun must be hauled by hand by hundreds of men. Tanks useless. They can't climb steep slopes. In 2 days, Americans advanced less than a mile. 200 men evacuated with frostbite, 50 killed in combat. General Brown looks at map and understands 3 days was naive fantasy. Days 4 through 6. Progress completely halted. Constant freezing rain turned Muskeg into real swamp. Soldiers sink waist deep. Some literally drown in mud with their equipment. Wind increased to 40 miles per hour. Tents ripped down every night. Air support impossible in this weather. Naval artillery fires blind. American troops essentially fighting without support. Japanese use fog for short, furious counterattacks. Appear from nowhere, bayonet charge and disappear before Americans can react. Psychological pressure mounting. At night, Japanese shout in English from fog, "You will die here!" Snipers fire from unknown positions. Soldier can be standing talking. Next second falls dead. Nobody saw the shot. Morale drops critically. Soldiers call Attu frozen hell. By May 16th, over 600 men evacuated with frostbite, more than combat casualties. Nature killing more effectively than enemy. On this day, General Landrum relieved of duty due to slow progress. General Brown takes direct command and changes tactics. No more small skirmishes. Simultaneous massive strike from north and south. Concentration of all forces. No matter the cost, Japanese defense must be broken with one powerful blow. Offensive will start May 17th, despite weather. May 17th, Day 7. Weather slightly improved. Visibility up to 200 yards. For Attu, this is almost clear day. General Brown strikes simultaneously from north and south. From north, 32nd Regiment massively storms Jarman Pass. Entire regiment goes up wave after wave. From south, 17th attacks heights around Massacre Valley. Artillery, finally hauled into position, pounds Japanese fortifications. Japanese forced to split their 800 combat-ready soldiers between 2 directions against 11,000 Americans. Math works against them, but they don't surrender. Battle for each height takes hours of bloody fighting. May 20th, breakthrough occurs. 32nd captures Jarman Pass after 3 days continuous fighting. Northern and southern groups can now link up. Japanese garrison cut in half. Next 2 days, Americans capture key heights. Point Able, Point Baker, Point Charlie. For first time in 11 days, they're looking down at Japanese positions, not up. Japanese perimeter shrinks from 5 square miles to 1. Colonel Yamasaki pulls remnants to final fortifications near Chichagof Harbor. He has about 800 combat-ready soldiers and 600 wounded left. Ammunition running out, 20-30 rounds per man. Food for 2 days. No help coming. American fleet blocks all approaches. Yamasaki understands this is the end, but surrender impossible for Japanese officer. May 28th evening. Last night of Battle of Attu. Americans occupy 3 key heights around final Japanese positions. Tomorrow they plan final artillery bombardment and assault. Battle's end seems hours away. Strange order comes in evening. Company on Engineer Hill must abandon positions and withdraw for breakfast in rear. On strategically vital height, with artillery, only handful of sentries remain. In Japanese camp, Colonel Yamasaki gathers officers for last time. His surgeon, Captain Paul Tatsuguchi, American of Japanese descent, studied medicine in California, writes final diary entry. Tomorrow, final assault will be carried out. All patients in hospital must commit suicide. I am only 33 years old, and I will die here. At 1800, took care of all patients with grenades. Goodbye, Taiki, my beloved wife. Yamasaki gathers everyone capable of holding weapon, 800 combat-ready soldiers plus 600 wounded who can walk. Some have only grenades, others bamboo sticks with bayonets. Almost no ammunition left. Plan is desperate. Break through American lines at 3 a.m. Capture artillery on Engineer Hill. Turn guns against Americans. Break through to Massacre Bay for supplies. Chance of success minimal, but alternative is starving to death, surrounded. At 3 a.m., largest Banzai charge of Pacific War will begin. May 29th, 3 a.m. Silence explodes with screams, "Banzai! Tenohaka Banzai! Long live the Emperor!" 1,000 Japanese soldiers storm American positions like wave of fury. Some shoot while ammunition lasts, most immediately bayonet charge. Wounded barely able to walk rush forward with grenades. Forward American posts overrun in minutes. Soldiers run from tents straight into bayonet charge. Hand to hand in absolute darkness. Nobody sees who's enemy, who's friend. Japanese breakthrough to Engineer Hill. Sentries killed. Artillery crews slaughtered in sleep. Colonel Yamasaki personally leads attack with grandfather's samurai sword in hand. He captures guns, but instead of turning them around, orders continue advancing deeper into rear. Japanese burst into medical tents. Wounded Americans bayoneted in beds. Surgeons killed over operating tables. This gives Americans time to bring reinforcements from other heights. At 6 a.m. dawn breaks, and for first time in weeks, fog clears. Visibility several hundred yards. Worst for Japanese, best for Americans. Japanese trapped in open ground, surrounded from 3 sides. American artillery, mortars, and machine guns open fire simultaneously. Japanese don't retreat. They keep attacking wave after wave until each one dies. By noon it's over. Over 1,000 Japanese bodies on slopes. American casualties, about 550 killed and wounded. Colonel Yamasaki found dead with sword in hand. Captain Tatsuguchi killed by shrapnel near hospital. Of 1,000 attackers, 1 soldier survived. He surrendered next day. Battle of Attu is over. May 30th, 1943, day 19. Attu declared under American control. Final casualty count shocks command. 549 Americans killed, 1,148 wounded. But most shocking number, 1,114 evacuated with non-combat injuries. Frostbite, trench foot, exposure. Nature disabled more Americans than Japanese. For comparison, on Guadalcanal during 6 months, 1,600 Americans died. On Attu in 19 days, 549, proportionally Attu was deadlier. Of 2,900 Japanese defenders, 28 survived, less than 1%. Rest died in combat or committed suicide. Americans found groups of Japanese who detonated grenades. Generals planned 3 days, got 19. Force ratio was 5-1, but terrain, weather, and fanatical resistance turned quick victory into bloody slaughter. Japanese command was so shocked, they decided to evacuate Kiska before American attack. July 28, 400 Japanese secretly evacuated under fog cover. When Americans landed in August with 35,000 soldiers, island was empty. Lost 92 men to friendly fire and mines. Japanese weren't there. Aleutian campaign ended. Japanese would never set foot on American soil again. But victory on Attu left bitter taste. Too many mistakes, too many frozen, too high price for useless chunk of rock. Battle of Attu. Only World War II battle on American soil. But ask any American, most have never heard of it. Why did America forget this battle? Maybe because it was inconvenient victory. Intelligence miscalculated enemy strength by half. Soldiers sent to Arctic without winter gear. 3 days became 19. Or because it was pointless island. Attu had no strategic value. Japanese never seriously planned invasion through Aleutians. 549 lives for chunk of tundra that became uninhabited right after war. Attu convinced command that invasion of Japan would cost million lives. If Japanese fight to last man on forgotten Arctic island, what would happen defending homeland? This became one of arguments for atomic bomb. 42 native Aleuts lived on Attu before war. Japanese sent them to camp. 16 died there. When survivors returned in 1945, American government forbade them returning to island. Too expensive to rebuild village. Today, Attu is part of wildlife refuge, uninhabited. Few rusted tanks in tundra, destroyed fortifications, crosses at abandoned cemetery. History remembers D-Day, Iwo Jima, Pearl Harbor, but Attu is battle America chose to forget. 49. Americans gave their lives for this island. 2,172 Japanese died defending it. Now you know their story. Don't forget it.